Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Friday edition of Moohead Radio. I'm your host, a big and furry bovine. We have panelists who are joining us who are going to have this opportunity to say something, anything they want to start out Friday. Is a goddamn Friday. So starting with Bronk. Bronk, what do you have to say?
Well, February 2nd, 2020, in Miami, will be the Browns' last game of this season. And I suggest that people try to make it because it will be the first time that they will ever be in the Super Bowl, but it won't be the last time. I'm looking to be there, so let's see you all there.
I'm adding Philip Slauson right now and Rick to our esteemed panelists. I don't know how esteemed we are, but we are. All right. And Jake, you're next. What? Just anything that's on your mind.
Well, backup running back is definitely a concern now, and might throw out we signed Jay Ajayi for a budget deal.
And why is it suddenly a concern to you?
Hilliard. We have nobody there, so.
Nobody's home.
He wasn't great, but now we literally don't have a spot or a player that can fill that spot, so it's not a great situation.
No, it's not. And it's something that we knew was thin going in. Philip Slauson.
What's up, my friend from Canton?
Hey, we're both Cantonites. I'm sorry to hear that. But we both survived. That's the amazing. You're younger than I, though. If you make it to 62, do you presently live in Canton still?
No, I'm in Texas, buddy.
Oh, wow. All right. How long were you in Canton for?
Until I got done with high school. No, college, 2010.
Wow. How about that?
Yeah.
Did it leave you with a nervous twitch?
No, but severe brain damage.
Oh, there you have it. All right.
So that's both of us, right?
Did you ever eat at Pizza Oven?
Oh, it's one of my favorite places. I used to work for DePietro.
Oh, you worked for the DePietro family?
At one time, yeah, when I was in high school.
Oh, well, you worked for the kids, though. You didn't work for Papa. He was long dead.
Well, yeah, he was playing golf at that point.
You worked for Stephanie?
No, I worked for David at the golf course.
Okay, you were over at, I forget the name of the course now, the country club.
Skyland
Pines. Yeah. All right, far out.
Yep.
All right. Next, we'll go over to, what would you have? Oh, I guess he already said something. Rick, what do you have to say to start Friday?
Is it just me, or does Freddie Kitchens look like Larry the Cable Guy?
It's not just you. All right. And Rox, anything you want to say, Rox?
Well, I don't have anything sports related to say, but I am very glad that it's Friday. Yay.
Why? You have something really big planned for the weekend?
I have a whole lot of nothing planned, and that is
really
relief after this work week. Yes.
Okay. That's good. All right. So as for me, what do I have to say? I was watching the Baltimore Ravens yesterday, and I figured I'd take advantage of the Game Pass that I have by watching teams other than the Browns, and I streamed it through my nifty little Roku box. I always thought that sounded like sex with a Japanese woman. Did you get that Roku box? And it's like, I'm sorry. It was tasteless. I'll take it back. I do. And I want to introduce my newest friend. Yes, he has returned, but in bigger form. It's the White Cow of Hope. The White Cow of Hope has become humongous because basically, like my microphone rocks, this particular guy is watching the Browns and is smothering the Black Cow of Death because Hope. I mean, right now, the Indians whipping the Yankees 19-5. There, look, there he is.
There he is.
He doesn't.
WCOH.
Look at this. The White Cow of Hope, the WCOH. Isn't he kind? Look at him.
Yes. I feel at ease and calm, and
that's right.
I'm feeling his Zen-like presence.
Yeah, and look, and the battery compartment looks like an udder. Okay.
What does he do when you turn it on? Does he make
actually, he has to have a battery in him, kind of like the toy that Rox has on her dresser.
Yeah, but you can use it without a battery.
Rox is like, we don't even want to go there. So I really believe, and everyone talks about the Steelers, but me personally, it's the Ravens.
Yeah, the Ravens.
And let me tell you why I believe this. First of all, Freddie Kitchens is making a real big to-do about toughness and how toughness and fortitude is going to carry the Browns through. Well, I don't think at this point in time anybody sees the Steelers as being A, what they were as far as toughness defensively, and B, it's still so reliant upon Ben Roethlisberger, and nobody knows what kind of a season Roethlisberger is going to have. And if you do end up in a shootout, who do you choose now? The 38-year-old or 72-year-old Ben Roethlisberger or Baker Mayfield? Somehow I'll take my chances with the Steelers, but it's the Ravens who worry me because defensively, they're bad news. They are an established unit. They just lost an important player. Is it Tavon Young? Is that his name? He is a cornerback, and he suffered a neck injury, a disc injury in his neck. And he is toast for the season, and he's going to require spinal surgery, and that might mean, my friends, the end of his career. Now, he's not the only guy back there, but he did have a pretty good season last year, and he's depth in the secondary. And if we can buy time for Baker and they go thin in the secondary, we have a better chance against them. The problem is I watched their game, and it's not that Aaron Rodgers didn't play. He didn't play. So we don't really get an idea of the defense. I was more interested in what the offense looked like. Did anyone else watch the Ravens game here?
I watched the Ravens game. I got League Pass. I watched the first half in real time, and then I watched the 40-minute condensed game.
And what do you think? What did you think?
I thought Matt Judon, funny name, was a beast last night. He was all over the field, tackling, running down guys that should have been quicker than him. And the thing that worried me about the Ravens that you're probably not going to mention was that their offensive line bitch slapped the Packers upside the head for most of the first half, to the extent that Lamar Jackson could just hand the ball off to the, mediocre running backs. And these guys were no better than Terrence West. They were just.
There's a good name from the past. Very good.
I got show prep on that. Anyway, so remind me of that. So they run the ball with these mediocre backs, and they're running up right through the Packers, and they're keeping the ball out of DeShone Kaiser's hands. It's too hard to do anyway, but they had time of possession out the E-way and could do whatever they want. And Lamar Jackson basically is not a good quarterback. He's a quarterback who runs. He's not somebody who's going to throw the ball downfield. So what I would suggest the Browns do against the Ravens offense is have Denzel Ward and Terrence Mitchell or Greedy Williams play one-on-one with the two loneliest guys on the field, which are the Ravens wide receivers who will never see a ball at any point when Lamar Jackson's on the field. They can just lock these two guys down, and then we'll fucking put 9 guys in the box and stop their fucking running game.
Well, look, I think their frontline running back, at least the guy who started the game, was named Dixon. He limped off the field after he caught a pass.
Yeah, he looked like he hurt something. I don't know how.
He did something to his foot or his ankle, and he hopped off. And you're right. The next thing you know, there's some guy that I don't know who the fuck he is, but
I mean, he looked like he could be better than our number 2 guy at the moment.
So, well, no, he was running through holes big enough for the Big O to run through.
But the Packers look absolutely tiny. I mean, they look absolutely. Their front 4 looked like linebackers. They look so small. I mean, and so we've got Garrett, we've got Vernon, we got Richardson, we got Ogunjobi, we got Coley, we've got Devereux Lawrence. I mean, we should
all the aggressiveness, toughness, or however Freddie wants to put it, technique comes into the equation. And it strikes me, and you pretty well said what I saw, Bronk, which is, the same old Ravens. And that's not necessarily good because they are showing their ability to blow people off the line, open up gaping holes for the running game, control the clock. The fact that the 2 opening possessions that Lamar Jackson was in charge of only ended up in field goals, it also ran the clock out and really it doesn't give you a chance, to pull far ahead of them, and 2, it magnifies any mistake you make on offense because then they wear you down.
Yeah, and on the opening drive or the second drive that Jackson had, Jackson actually scored on like a 30-yard run, and there was some ticky-tacky fuck-off penalty that the Ravens had that actually called the play back, and then it forced in the field goal team, who, by the way, their field goal kicker is a Hall of Famer. Justin Tucker is going to be in the Hall of Fame. He's going to be in the Hall of Fame, so he never misses. So if we come into a Ravens game and have to rely on them missing a field goal to win, we're fucked. So we can't let that happen.
Well, and this team is built for close games. You look at the statistics of what they did last year defensively, and I mean, they averaged giving up, it was some ridiculous thing like 61 yards of rushing per game. I mean, teams could not sustain possessions. And even though Lamar Jackson, when he played, only completed 50% of his passes, it didn't seem to matter because they were still controlling the ball for long periods of time.
I mean, the game we won against the Ravens last year was an overtime game. We won 12-9, and that was a game that could have gone either way.
It can't be that way.
No team.
You're not going to win very often that way against that team. And they, but here's what I wanted to point out, because everyone's saying, well, it was an 18-yard touchdown run, and it was an electric run. It really was. I mean, what I will say about Lamar Jackson, and I'll open this up to my panel at this point, is you can say he's not a full-fledged quarterback. But what I can say is this. If he were a kick returner, he'd be the best in the league. If he were a running back, he would be one of the best in the league.
Yeah.
All right. Now, as a quarterback, there are things that kind of add to the mystery of this whole situation. For example, if you're a great running back, what are your prime years? And the answer is up to about 29 years of age. After that, the wheels start diminishing and you start seeing the NFL trading off or not re-signing 29 and 30-year-old running backs because there's
Adrian Peterson looked an exception last night. Emmitt Smith. I mean, the names of 30-year-old running backs, you can count on the finger of one hand.
And especially in today's violent game. Yeah. And the thing is that when you have a quarterback that is a franchise quarterback, we're not going to get Tom Brady like durability out of everybody, but look at a guy like Roethlisberger, who's been a franchise quarterback for so long. And you look at the Drew Breeses, he's 40 years old, guys who get protection and they have long lasting careers. Well, at the rate that Lamar Jackson's going, if he's becoming a running back, he's not going to have a 15-year career. He's not going to have a 10-year career.
He might not have a 15-game career.
I mean, you just don't know. So, I guess I look at this and I say, his greatest skill might be the thing that would make him a great running back, a great kick returner. But the investment that the Ravens want to make in him is to get him to learn how to throw the ball downfield to his wideouts. Now, we'll go to Jake. How do you see how we would stack up against the Ravens just from this early bit of information?
I would say they're predictable, but I'm sure since they know his skill set, they have some crazy run packages ready to break out, especially in the fourth quarter. And I think we could split with them minimum. And if we have Baker given the same chance last year before that miracle tipped pass by Mosley, was it? I think he'll win that game. It'll be tough in Baltimore, I think, for sure. And I think it'll come down to the last second or last drive.
Yeah, the thing is everyone knows going in, they're going to run the off tackle, they're going to run the little counter play, and nobody's stopping it consistently. That's, Philip.
They always have that extra blocker. I mean, they know it, and they always have that blocker ready. So when you have numbers, it doesn't matter if they know what you're doing.
Now, Philip, what do you think? How do we stack up against the Ravens in the early going here?
The Ravens offensive line is really something, and they have probably the 3 best tight ends in the NFL. I mean, they're just stacked to run the ball and ground and pound it. Ingram on top of that. I just don't see how they're going to throw the ball other than short passing. So, I mean, their whole roster just looks like a short passing for Lamar. I think our defensive line is going to be okay to stop the run. The one area I would say, and Mark, we've talked about this numerous times, is do we have linebackers that can stop the run? And this is one topic I wanted to talk about later is roster cuts, because Joe Schobert on a consistent basis stopping the run, I just don't see it.
Right, and the other thing is coverage. I mean, the thing that I saw with Lamar Jackson, we'll get to you in a minute, Rick. The thing I saw with Lamar Jackson is he's throwing a lot of crossing patterns to his running backs going over the middle of the field. They're isolating on linebackers. The easier throws for him are basically check downs in one-on-one kind of confrontations where his receiver, or running back in this case, it doesn't take as long for that guy to get into the pattern. Hence the use of running backs and tight ends so frequently in their passing game. But the fact is, it may be vanilla, but these guys are consistently open. And I think you have to account for Lamar Jackson as a potential second running back on every play from the line of scrimmage. Whenever he goes back to pass, the scary part of this is that the play that he ran for the touchdown that was nullified by the penalty, that was crazy. I mean, it was sick.
Big tackles and everything.
No, but I mean, he's a blur. I mean, my God, that he leaped over the last guy. It looked like a goddamn equestrian event. And, you're not going to bring him down in the backfield unless you somehow surround him. One defensive lineman putting pressure on him is going to get juked every time. And you're not going to be able to bring him down to the backfield. The thing we haven't seen yet is his ability to look down the field and find wide receivers who break away from the pack and it hits them down the field. But the fact is that there is no defensive linebacker who is going to track him down. If Myles Garrett gets pressure around the end, all Lamar Jackson's going to do is step up or juke him to the side and matador him and then buy whatever time he needs to check down to somebody. It's a problem. Rick, what do you see here?
Yeah, I see those same problems. They're going to have to try and keep Lamar Jackson in the pocket and not allow him the opportunity to escape outside. Because once he gets outside, what's going to break loose. We have to have our defensive backs have to play one-on-one on their receivers, and the linebackers are just going to have to, just strap onto the tight ends and the running backs coming out of the back, and just don't let go. Schobert, he can track the tight end or he can track the running back, but he darn well better tackle him this year, unlike what he did last year. That's going to take something doing.
One of the things that we saw last year with Greg Williams' style of defense is the overcommitting. And, integrity, gap integrity, these things become really significant things. When you're playing a quarterback like Lamar Jackson, it's easy to say, well, we got to keep him, surrounded. So I saw on several plays where he actually stepped up into the pocket and juked his way to the outside. He's that fast. He can get outside just by stepping up in the pocket and going around the end. And, it's a problem. And when I say and you can't have like a single cop who's looking out, the spy linebacker that they used to refer to in the NFL, who was the guy who kept an eye on the quarterback. There ain't no linebacker who in an open field is going to bring him down. It is a team effort, and you cannot, if you loop around too far and you mark Gastineau he's going to step up and he's going to hurt you that way and get outside. It's a challenge and a half. And, I don't know what the answer is right now, except you got to put points on the board and you got to get them down early so that they abandon some of that running game. And that's going to require the Browns to strike quickly offensively, which so far nobody's been able to do against the Ravens defense. That's the team that I see as the biggest threat. Now,
they look like a 10-16, the Ravens. But, I'll still say the Browns look like a 12-14. So, yeah, those are going to be awesome games. And they should be national games when they're on.
And I'm bringing in Tony the Calf right now, the inestimable.
Let's not.
Hey, buddy, how you doing, man?
The indigestible Tony of the Calf.
How you doing, man? It's good to see you. I was thinking about you.
As you watch the Twins fucking fade into oblivion. Thank you. I appreciate
they're still in first place. Look,
half a game.
Yeah, but look, you
Fuck,
can.
Our bullpen couldn't get Bronco, and he's blind.
There's a lot of fight in your dog, Tony. You should be proud of that team. Seriously. I mean, It was tough against the Indians. I'll grant you that. But they've come off of that series and played well. And the Indians had trouble with the Red Sox, and I suspect that we'll continue to have trouble with the Yankees. I don't know. Last night, the game was over before it began, and it was an unusual contest. I was thinking about you and the Twins, and that I still think the Twins are going to win the division, Tony.
I'm proud, but I mean, with the way we started, it's a disappointment, even if we just win the division, because I know we're not good enough to make it out of the first round.
No, I think that would probably be true of the Indians and anyone coming out of the Central. I think that's probably a realistic thing. I wanted to move on, seeing as how I don't want to bore everybody by making them think that this is a Baltimore Ravens show. Hello to Mr. Ferguson in the chat room. Hi to Daktar. Hi to Ron Shane. Hello, Brian. I'm sorry that your computer can't handle this. I feel badly about that. But
should we talk politics instead? Yeah, really.
Well, and Amsterdam's good to see you, and yeah, it's good to just be hanging out on a Friday with everybody here on Moohead Radio. There's a lot happening around the league that isn't so good. All right, and I'll just give you a quick sampling. We already talked about Tavon Young being out for for the season most likely. So is Jets linebacker Avery Williamson, an ACL torn, and that is the worst kind of thing that can happen. This is the thing that makes you wonder about the Jets above all else. And I will show you the most realistic thing about the white cow of hope, and that's okay.
The butthole,
yeah. So he actually has a real tail, and yes, a butthole that points right at the camera if necessary. But Avery Williams was the last starter still on the field late in the second quarter. Why was a starter on the field late in the second quarter of a meaningless second week preseason game? Maybe he didn't work hard enough in practice and was being punished. God only knows, or COD only knows in this case. Williamson and cornerback Tavon Campbell were in coverage in the end zone. They were defending running back Brian Hill. They collided, and Campbell nailed his own man right in the knee as he tried to make a play on the ball. Rooney, it's over for the season, and he was their most durable linebacker. Shit like this happens in the preseason. Ask San Diego Chargers. Their all-pro safety is out indefinitely Derwin James suffered a foot injury, and there is a diagnosis of, and this is a killer, the dreaded Jones fracture, which is a stress fracture of the fifth metatarsal. To put that in perspective, it's a break below right on where the pinky toe is, about halfway down the foot. The stress fracture of the fifth metatarsal. It is a very slow healing thing. Sometimes needs surgery. Sometimes we'll just have to sit back. But the Jones fracture is dreaded, a lot like, what's the other one? Help me here.
Liz
Frank. Yeah, the Liz Frank
surgery.
Yep. I mean,
Frank, whatever. That's bad.
And Frank, whatever.
That's bad.
and Frank surgery.
Yeah, Frankfurter, who knows?
No,
Frank Reich,
Yeah.
The Anne Frank surgery only takes place in an attic. It's really strange. And the doctor has a diary. I don't know what in the hell.
You end up a pile of ashes in the end, but that's.
And to make things correct, that's right. You'd end up closer to the Reich, and I don't mean Frank. Basically, Derwin was seen with a walking boot on his right foot during the team's second joint practice with the New Orleans Saints. He had not missed a single practice and played 11 snaps in the opening preseason game. This is a big loss for the Chargers, something that they just don't need at all. And then again, the Ravens, Tavon Young. I mean, this is all, the stuff that can happen. How long do you think you're going to see the first line offense, the offensive line, and Baker Mayfield in tomorrow's game? Let's start out. We'll go around the panel, starting with Tony the Calf. Tony, how much play? We only got one speed 2-minute drive out of Baker in the first week. How much more in week 2 do you think?
Probably the usual 1 quarter. National televised game. I think they'll put him out there for a quarter, and we'll let him shake the rest off and move on. And
now I don't have to stream this one. This one's on the NFL Network. Am I right about that?
Yep, NFL Network.
All right, so that's being done live, and that's channel, I believe, 212 on DirecTV. If you have DirecTV, if you don't, he's probably located somewhere else. Rick, how long do you play Baker in the second week of the preseason?
Probably like what Tony said, maybe the first quarter, at least more than one series. You want him to be able to, you just saw the zip, zip, zip in the first game. You want to see, what other plays they want to show at this point, this early in the preseason. Maybe get Nick Chubb involved a little bit more, and make some use of some of his other receivers. Maybe 2 or 3 series, if not maybe the first quarter entirely.
Who's just as a throw-out question before I get to Philip, who is going to be the backup running back in this game?
Not sure. I understand Hilliard's got a hamstring problem.
That's right.
And not sure, is Hunt allowed to? Of course, he's got a hamstring, I think.
That's correct. He's not ready. And who's this guy? Who is the guy who was the third stringer?
Johnson.
Johnson.
Yeah, the bigger Johnson, right? I remember that. Yeah.
Oh, look, it's a first down by inches.
We got rid of the Dookie.
Yeah, we got that. This is Small Johnson. Philip, how long do you play Baker in week 2 of the preseason?
I say just a drive or 2. I don't even think the first quarter.
Right, and same thing with the offensive line. One interesting thing that has come up in practices is that Drew Forbes was actually taking several plays with the first string, right? And that's unusual at this point because it was just kind of presumed that the right guard position belonged to somebody else. And now they're saying that he flashed in the Redskins game. I didn't notice it. I'm going to go back and look at game film because the one thing you don't see in these telecasts is if you're not familiar with the guy's number, you're on the offensive line, they get buried real quick. You don't see that. But according to the organization, he flashed big time against the Redskins. And I think you're going to see more of him at right guard. I don't know. But that all I heard about Drew Forbes was how disappointing he was in practice sessions. So we're obviously still up in the air on the right side of our offensive line. We'll go over to Bronk next. How long do you play Baker?
One series.
Just one series. I mean,
that's all.
I mean, and when we hear this kind of stuff, I mean, obviously OBJ is not going to be out there.
That's right.
Landry would be out there. Rashard Higgins, I think he did tweak something, but I think he would be out there. But I mean, you're really not going to have, and of course, Callaway's in a walking boot now, and he's not going to be able to play until week 5 anywho. I mean, is this a good opportunity to maybe put some of the second unit receivers on the field with Baker just to get some timing down in a real game situation? One of these fellas is going to have to play. I mean, whether it's Montgomery or whether it's Sheehy Giuseppe or somebody, or if it's Derek Willis or somebody has got to start at the other wide receiver position. Yeah, Bronk.
Well, I made a comment about Sheehy Giuseppe. I'm going to throw some very cold water on his chances of making the team. If you watched the Bengals-Redskins game last night, and I watched the first half, and then I also watched the 40 minutes of it, the Redskins were absolutely diabolical on the special teams. They got returns, and they, at the end of the game, like the same time that Giuseppe scored last week, some slow white guy caught a punt and ran it back for a touchdown. So, I mean, you got to take that with a grain of salt. The
Redskins looked comatose in week 1 and week 2 of the preseason. The Redskins
will be lucky to win 4 games this year. They are awful.
They don't look good. Jake, how long do you play Baker here?
I would use Baker as the 2-minute drill type thing and try to set up a kick maybe, or just go down the field, but try to be a 2-minute type situation, and then just run a traditional, maybe almost conservative offense to bleed a clock. I mean, just 2 drives. I wouldn't overdo it with him.
No. I don't think they'll do a 2-minute drill this time. I just think they'll go out and Baker will play a normal, like, scripted offense. But I think Kareem Hunt's going to play maybe all half. I think he's going to get a lot of time, and this will probably be the game he will play in.
And I do have a question about, I might take the show off schedule, but what do you think of Clint Kingsbury not using his air raid offense in preseason because he doesn't want teams to get film on it?
Well, I mean,
Kyler Murray looked confused because he was running a whole pro-style offense he does not know. Yeah. He embarrassed himself yesterday.
It was bad. The Cardinals looked bad. That would be a nice way of putting it. Horse shit would be another way of putting it. I would say any coach who is, we're keeping this under wraps and we're keeping that under wraps. I mean, I look at the Browns and the way they came out and said, we're going to run a 2-minute drill and we're going to take it down your throat. And by the way, we're doing this, right? The Ravens are saying, okay, we're going to hand the ball off and we're coming right at you. Then they turn around and do it, right? I mean, there are no fucking secrets for very long. And we've seen this before with backup quarterbacks. We saw it with Kelly Holcomb so many years ago. And we've seen it periodically with the Browns, who every conceivable way that a backup quarterback could play, we ended up with it. And that guy might be good for a week or two. But unfortunately, film gets broken down very quickly. And it's a 16-game season. And it's not like basketball where there's 82 or 162 in Major League Baseball. It's a cruel, cruel thing when they can break things down and they figure you out. And I say you go with what you got And if you're not confident, you say what Kingsbury did. You're just going to say, we're going to keep this under wraps. I don't think the Cardinals are going to be very good this year either, predicated on.
They tried to roll him out 2 or 3 times, and he was caught by a D lineman behind the line. So that's your speedster quarterback should probably not be getting caught by second-string D linemen.
Well, but there's the other thing to consider, and that's that, you watch young quarterbacks come into the league, and again, the key to the air raid offense, contrary to the name of the offense, is it's imperative that chemistry and reads are on the same page, the quarterback and the wide receiver. And how do you get on the right page if you're a rookie with no experience, unless you're unusually gifted and you just take to an offensive scheme? How does that happen? And when you're working with receivers who you've never worked with before and who are not prolific wide receivers, and they're not that experienced, how are they going to make the same read that a rookie quarterback who's never played in the league is going to make? Because it's all about the middle of the field. If you haven't noticed, folks, what the Browns are doing, there's plenty of opportunities to throw the ball down the field, but down the field doesn't necessarily mean the giganto bomb. It's more or less we break patterns off and the quarterback throws before the receiver breaks, and there is no defense for a 4 deep. When you have, and if you throw David Njoku into the mix as a deep threat, you go 4 vertical. And then if they have the chemistry, why do you think Rashard Higgins suddenly looks good? It's not that he's fast, it's that he's precise and that he and Baker are on the same page. And he goes down the field and everyone's rushing down there. The safety has to make a decision. Oh my God, where do I think this play is going? And bam, guy like Higgins breaks the pattern off and the ball's right in his hands before anybody has a chance. You're still throwing to a load of one-on-one coverage, even in zone situations where you go 4 vertical, you're throwing maybe into the softer zones, but at the same time, it doesn't give the defense nearly as much reaction time. I think they should be running their plays, man, because if they're going to have trouble running these plays at 50% speed, God help the week when the regular season begins,
Well, who knew that their whole clapping to start a play is a penalty in the NFL? Who knew that till that game started?
I didn't see that. What happened?
Before the game, Kingsbury tried to explain, he's going to clap twice before the ball's delivered or clap 3 times. And the officials said, okay, fine, we'll go with the play. But then they called it a couple times because you have to have a consistent clap because you're going to throw off the line. You have to have a verbal because you don't want to have Ohio State does a slow clap.
Right.
Sometimes they don't want to have that. They want to have a verbal snap, and they want to have a consistent one because it throws off the game for the NFL linemen that they're not used to.
I'm going to change gears for a minute because this, when something comes up that I talked about quite a ways back, and we talked about the New York Knicks being for sale, okay, and we talked about Dolan, and I felt that the league was pushing for that. Out of the blue, Mikhail Prokhorov, the owner of the Nets, all right, is selling his remaining 51% stake to the guy who owned the 49%. Joe Tsai is the guy who's purchasing it. It's right at the time they need to breathe life into New York. The league has stepped in. Prokhorov, and what I talked about when we were talking about Dolan and how the league doesn't want him in New York, and I kind of sniffed at it and said, well, geez, it's not like they got any bargain in Prokhorov. Basically ran the team into absolute debt by signing some of the worst free agents in the history of the game. Prokhorov put them in a position where they were going to suck for years by doing what he did. And I said at the time, I don't think the league really has an interest in Prokhorov any more than they do Dolan. So it appears. So it's really, if you don't know Sai, he's the co-founder of Alibaba. That is a huge e-commerce site, which is an Asian company. And these are the types of people who have to buy NBA franchises today. You got to have something good behind you, whether it's Quicken Loans or Alibaba, or you're a former Microsoft guy. This is becoming really one of the elite kind of ownership situations in professional sports. Needless to say, Brett Yormark, who served as the CEO of the Nets since 2005, he's stepping down. This is what they're trying to do to breathe life back into New York. I mean, let me go to the panel here. Anybody can talk up, I suppose, but we'll go with I don't know. Are you fapping, Tony?
No.
I saw that shoulder going up and down, and I was getting really concerned.
I'm scratching my foot.
Oh, okay.
I had a spat with Poison Ivy a couple weeks ago.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Did you ever see that movie, Poison Ivy? It was one of the worst movies ever.
They didn't start Peter Fonda, because I got a pretty good Peter Fonda impersonation if you want to see it.
Yeah, go ahead. Good, I like
Thank
it.
You.
I don't know what the hell you're doing, Philip, but I'm about to ask you a question, but it's not what in the fuck are you doing? Do you think the NBA is going to eventually get good basketball in New York City?
I think the Nets will be okay.
I guess Philip didn't want to answer the question. He's too busy eating his
microphone wire.
Yeah, I know.
Doing his Epstein impersonation.
Easy.
I think those two guys should have went to the Knicks, Kyrie and whatever, Durant. But that's just me.
Yeah, I don't think either team is in a position really to do much of anything right now. To be very honest with you, I just think they're running owners out of town now.
Yeah,
That's what appears to be the case anyway. Rick, any hope of New York seeing good basketball in the next 3 years?
About as good a chance as seeing DeMarcus Cousins on the court again.
Yeah, that's another thing I talked about.
Tore his ACL. Tore his ACL. Old DeMarcus ain't gonna boogie no more.
I told do you remember when I said he looked like he was held together by paper clips and scotch tape? I mean, when he came back to play for the Warriors last year, he's not the same guy that he was before the injury in Sacramento. He's just not the same guy. And to find out that basically they claimed it was a knee bumping episode, that's not the way you tear an ACL, by the way, folks. But
Bill looked like he just landed wrong on his leg, and all of a sudden he just collapsed like a sack of potatoes.
Well, the thing is, I don't think DeMarcus Cousins has been in any kind of basketball shape since that first injury. And I think rushing back to play when you're not in physical condition leads to these types of things.
Well, he had that weird diet where he kind of lost a bunch of weight, took all the carbs out, and went straight keto. And that doesn't work for a lot of guys.
Well, I mean, whatever it has happened to him, he ain't no more. I mean, he was down to $3.25 million with a 1-year deal. This was supposed to have been his 1 year, get the ring with Golden State, and then hit the free agent market and make a ton. And it's not going to be that way for DeMarcus Cousins. It's really what an abrupt halt to a career. And you know something? I never liked the guy. I never thought that he was the real deal. I never thought that he was a team player. I thought that he was out for himself. And I see it so much in the NBA. That guy was, I'm not happy he's hurt, but at the same time, wow. I mean, and one more thing that the Lakers and Jeannie Buss, the cursed franchise of Los Angeles, Bronk, any hope for good basketball in New York?
About as much hope as there is for good football in New York, and I'd actually like to get back to football because I have a little
Sure.
I have a trivia question for the entire panel, and open up to the chat room. Now, after the trade of Duke Johnson, there are now only three Cleveland Browns players that were on the team prior to Hugh Jackson started. Now, the first question is that people should get straight away is, who was the coach before Hugh Jackson? The one immediately before Hugh Jackson. Mike Patton. Absolutely. Now, from that team, can you guys name the three people from 2015 that are still on the Browns? I will give a clue if you guys need it.
Okay, let's stop and think about this for a minute. The guys.
Well, interestingly enough, I actually researched the 8 guys that are on the team since 2014, before Dorsey, basically.
Oh, so Philip knows the answer, so he's disqualified.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. So let's. If anyone has the ideas, I'm going to throw out some names because again,
It's got one the long snapper, Charlie Hewlett.
Charlie Hewlett. Goodness gracious, and that's not a name I would even.
He was signed 24. Christian Kirksey.
That Kirksey was the one I was going to mention because I thought that he was a guy who was a rookie that season.
Probably, but Bitonio has been there for
That's
a while.
it.
Yep, out of Nevada.
The guy from Minnesota gets them all right. Now, the thing about Kirksey and Bitonio that's interesting is that they were in that infamous 2014 draft. Bitonio was a second-round draft pick. Kirksey was a third-round draft pick. And who do we get in the first round? Justin Gilbert.
Yeah.
Johnny
Manziel.
I'll tell you who else was in that draft. Odell Beckham Jr., Aaron Donald, Jarvis Landry, Khalil Mack. And we trade our 4. It could have had any of those fuckers.
And again, it's like I said, it is not just the bad player like the Justin Gilbert you get. It's who you passed on to get the lousy player like Justin Gilbert.
If you go on Wikipedia, look at the 2014 draft, you'll see that 16 guys out of the first 32 were Pro Bowlers. And we managed to
Tony, Matt,
get
Matthews, Evans, Anthony Barr, Eric Ebron. Jesus
it's
Christ. Odell Beckham, Kyle. God damn.
I know,
we now have Greg Robinson.
So close.
We now have Odell Beckham.
All right, and before I move on to the next topic, Rox, I want you to sing a snippet from the song Titanium.
You shoot me down, but I won't fall. I am titanium.
God, you suck when you sing that song.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
She insists on singing this song in karaoke. And tell them what happened, Rox. You actually went in front of a live audience and sang that song in karaoke. What
kind of
happened?
like just now? Well,
Yeah.
There wasn't it wasn't a crowd pleaser, let's put it that way.
You know, when you're done singing and there's crickets. Oh, God.
Better than having that wire fence in front of you like the Blues Brothers, you know.
It was funny. I think like a month ago or 2 months ago, she sings this song on the karaoke site that she and I are members of. And she says, here's the link. I want you to hear this. Like, yeah. It's like, why are you sending this to me? My God, I'd rather have herpes than have to listen to it. And so she could choose any fucking song to sing in front of a live audience at a bar where people were imbibing in alcoholic beverages, and she chooses that one. My God, you talk about angry drunks. Not a good thing at all.
Oh, you shoot me down, but I won't fall. I am titanium.
Yeah, as long as you narrate it, it's fine. Just don't sing it.
So Rox was the Jacksonville Jaguars of the karaoke session. Then, huh?
Make it stop.
Well, people are actually in the bar though. No one goes to Jacksonville games. So
Speaking of lousy football players, I don't know why I segued that. That was awkward.
Case Keenum.
Case
I know
Keenum.
we were talking about him sometime. So this
The league just reinstated Josh Gordon.
Oh God.
Are you kidding me?
He'll play 4 games, get depression, and leave the Patriots.
Nope. The league just reinstated Josh Gordon, eligible to join the team Sunday afternoon.
And he can play in every game this year.
Yep.
You can't tell me that this league isn't rigged. You cannot tell me that. This guy, I mean, I don't know.
every football card company out there now just went, damn, missed him.
I can't believe.
Gotta change the numbers.
I think he plays just enough to collect enough money to feed his addiction and quits. I'm very convinced of that at this point.
I mean, Goodell can get favors or give favors anytime to, I mean, Kraft, it doesn't matter how many hookers he sees.
What? Why don't they just give Josh Gordon Mike Tyson's number? From what I understand, Mike has some weed he could probably spare. If what I've heard is true, he smokes $40,000 worth a month.
Now, how could he convince anybody in the league's office that he's a changed man? How is that possible?
He put the cigarette out before he walked in.
Well, I don't think he tested positive last time. I think he said that he's having mental health issues and just kind of bounced. So I think he said he thought about it and he was having issues, and then kind of that was his excuse to come back whenever. So, yeah.
They need a psycho on the field before Antonio Brown gets back on it, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
Fill in, you know.
Bring back Kenneth Johnson.
I'm amazed that I have not seen a reaction from Rox based on her screen presence. I don't know.
Still memorizing the words from Titanium. I don't know.
No. I mean, no. She doesn't even realize that her name has been changed to protect you. You see, I was thinking, you know, it's like, God, I don't know how many, you know, letters you can actually fit in there, you know. So what I was gonna do is just do it more in an abbreviated fashion. So you know, so there. So there you go.
Tyroxium.
No, I just abbreviated titanium on the screen. It wouldn't take up so much time.
Call me Tits McGee.
Tits McGee.
Guess what name's going to appear next now, Rock?
No, I'm not going to touch her. I'm going to let her rename herself to anything. But she said, I am titanium. So I gave her that opportunity. Here's the dumbest quote of all time.
How
right?
dumb is it?
Oh, this is so stupid. All right. The Houston Rockets general manager, Daryl Morey, is a guy who just repeatedly goes down on his own players. Here's a quote. It's just factual that James Harden is a better scorer than Michael Jordan. Morey acknowledged that people hate his take, but explained how the numbers support his statement. Well, Harden takes every shot. Why don't you take a look on what percentage of shots he makes? He's not the best scorer. He's not an efficient basketball player, and I wish he'd shut the fuck up. And I don't even like Michael Jordan.
If you look at MJ and LeBron's numbers, you could say they were volume players. They are around 50% every year. I know Harden's around like 44, 45. So the numbers do not prove that out.
Yeah.
His volume might decrease this year if Westbrook decides he'd like the ball a little more.
Oh, God, why are we talking about this NBA bullshit anyway? This is
fucking August. God damn it.
Yeah,
well, because it's my fucking show. And if you go ahead and find your own way on it, Bronx, feel free.
Hey, Brock, let's talk some fucking footy here while we're
football,
at it.
yeah.
How's Ipswich looking?
We are in the 3rd division now, mate. We suck. So there you go. You probably knew that already.
My boys from Aston Villa got promoted, but we look like shit in the first
Golf
week.
Aston Villa.
You're not going to hijack the show about fucking soccer. I mean, please.
Yeah, now you know how boring it is, isn't it?
You know what I think? I think of soccer. I think of like MILFs and SUVs dropping their kids off. You know, it's like, that's not a sport.
At least you didn't say butchy looking women like Megan Rapinoe. I was probably gonna hang up.
Yeah, he likes that purple hair thing.
Yeah, I'll tell you something. You know, there are people who are targets. You know, I couldn't even have told you who in the hell she was, but all you have to do is make anti-Trump suggestions and you become an instantaneous target of the conservative right. It's just a fact. I mean, anybody who would, Ocasio-Cortez, anybody who'd be threatened by that person is imbalanced psychologically. She is like totally stupid. You can't even think that she's going to influence national policy in this country. Do you think a 29-year-old former whatever the hell she was, waitress or whatever?
Hey, she had a finance degree from Boston College.
And
No,
she was a bartender.
No, she was a waitress. Cuckoo-ca-choo.
Bob,
yeah,
make
none of
Alexandra bartend again.
Look, I mean, she got elected. That's fine, but national policy is not going to, I could see the multinational corporation saying, we can't let this 29-year-old former bartender take us down with tax legislation that leaves us paying millions and millions and billions of dollars in tax. Nobody believes that. So stop it. Any more than they believe that guns aren't the problem. Stop it.
It is the 8% on Twitter that has everyone scared. Literally.
The 8%.
And people think they have enough people because of their, I guess, influence to change anything.
Yeah, it's just, to me, totally bizarre. The whole thing's totally bizarre.
Let's get back to football, goddammit.
Say what?
Let's get back to football.
Hey, the show's almost over. The reason I still wanted to mention the Cleveland Indians and that Jose Ramirez is hitting everything in sight, hitting home runs, and how much fun it was to watch a game where the Yankees got smashed in front of the New York fans. You know what the funniest part of it was? It was like the funniest part of this to me was they were down 7-0 before it began, right? And it kept getting worse. It got worse. And the few things they had to cheer about, because, Plutko was pitching. And look, he's going to give up home runs, especially with the short right field porch. But everything the Indians were hitting were going out of the park, 7 home runs. And by the time they put in their designated hitter as the pitcher, you knew that Aaron Boone was basically like, Uncle. And this guy comes out. And he gives up more gopher balls than Josh Tomlin, which is saying something. But while he's doing it, he's laughing. I don't know if you saw the game, but he was sitting there laughing his ass off on the mound. Every home run was going out of the park, and he was like, and you could see from the innings, from like the 6th inning on, fans slowly like a caravan moving out of the stadium. And the best part was people were booing and making nasty comments about the team laughing when they were getting bitch slapped around the field. And by the time that guy comes into the game and gives up 47 home runs or whatever the fuck it was, I mean, the rest of the fans, which in Yankee Stadium would have constituted about 6,000 left by the end of the game, they all got up and it was like somebody had a headset and a microphone and just broadcast to all 6,000, go home. And they all got up and it was like E.T. must go home. They just went out of the park. It was the funniest fucking thing I've seen, like a New York City migration. It's like, we've got better things to do here than watch a designated hitter give up 4 more runs. It's like they got up and left.
I think he retired the sign the 9th inning and got a standing ovation from the remaining people left.
Yeah, 18 people. There's one old guy who had a scorecard going, I remember the time the DH threw a yacker, hell of a curveball, and struck out the last batter. Yeah.
And turned to his guy next door. How do you spell K?
Yeah, I mean,
New York, you know how it is.
Yeah, I do.
I
Yeah.
got an idea for next Friday's show.
Oh, please.
That might add audiences.
What, are you going to
Because
want me to change it to Bronc Radio, the name of the program? Is that what you
Let's
want?
talk
I
soccer.
was going to suggest a name change, but not to that, although that would be a good idea.
We're all doing karaoke.
The Friday football game, the Browns play Tampa Bay at 7:30 that Friday night. So
Yes.
instead of having a normal Friday Moohead Show title, you could have it titled Browns Preseason Game 3, Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Pre-game show.
The pregame show, because the game starts at 7:30. You can actually label it a Moohead pregame show.
Is the game in Cleveland or in Tampa?
It is in Tampa Bay.
And that means that this is in my broadcast region. So I'm going to have to look out about blackouts here. That's going to be a real, unless, but maybe a local channel is showing it and I'll be able to watch it on.
Aren't you?
Yeah. But I'm still within that.
Minutes from Tampa?
Yeah, the concentric circle of the Tampa market. Yeah, all of the network affiliates that we receive are from Tampa St. Pete's. So I would imagine that somebody local showing the game, and that'll be good. I don't have to stream it. I can get it right on.
You'll probably have to listen to Mike Allstott and fucking Rondé Barber or whoever the fuck.
Yeah, exactly. You know, but it's all right. I mean, I just turn the sound down and I just watch what's happening. But yeah, that's absolutely right. It would be a pregame show. And
a Moohead pregame show.
And tomorrow is going to be great because we'll be back on StreamYard tomorrow. So from this point forward, it'll be Zoom for Mondays and Fridays, StreamYard for the halftime and post-game shows. And that'll make life easy. The game starts at 4 o'clock tomorrow. So count on seeing me around 5:30 and after the game at around 7. I can't tell you the exact times, but we'll be getting it together, and hopefully we'll get more people to join us. We'll see what happens. All right. Thanks, everybody. I appreciate you guys showing up. And Philip, don't eat that. I mean, I don't know. You don't know where that thing's been.
Well, it's very true.
I mean, even my cats don't eat electrical wires, so I think that's kind of weird.
But I love you, Cleveland.
I love you too. I love you. You know, wouldn't that be great? Drews, I can't use his real name. Drews Brennan. Couldn't you imagine that, if he were in Robert Kraft's place and he was at a, Korean spa or a Chinese spa? Wouldn't that be great? I love you, honey. I love you.
Yeah.
Thanks for the blowjob.
The ducks are on the pond.
Can you break a 50?
I do not understand how his show could be on for 10 years and still get ratings.
Okay, can I ask for one impression before we
Take a check. Post dated.
All right, so thanks for tuning into this edition of Moohead Radio, but it's all coming back at you tomorrow. So be ready. Halftime and post-game show tomorrow. We'll be talking Browns. Take it easy, Titanium. I see you waving there. Tony, thanks for joining us. Philip, good seeing you again. And Bronk, as always, Jake and Rick, thanks so much for tuning in.
And to Nipsey Russell, see you later.
And Richard Dawson. Yeah. All right. Thanks, everybody. And we'll be back.
Go Mitchell. Wait.
Until then, hasta la vista. Good night.
Ooh,